Hello everyone, welcome back to another knife video. This is a Victorinox Pioneer Alox. It was made in the year 2001, which makes it 25 years old. During that time, it's seen a ton of use. The can opener is chipped at the tip, and the awl is totally snapped off. Looking inside the knife, there really is 25 years worth of dirt. So before we can fix it, we have to do a great job cleaning. To start, I'm going to make some knife tea by pouring hot boiling water inside a bowl. Then we can add some multi-purpose white vinegar to help dissolve all the gunk and grease that's built up over the years. I decided to use my brother's toothbrush to speed along the process. Don't worry, I'll return his toothbrush after I'm done. Next, we can use some toothpicks to get inside the deep cracks and remove this really strange substance. I think this is some kind of wood or hair or animal fur, I'm not sure. You can see just how much has been removed after the first washing process. Pouring this disgusting soup down the sink is very satisfying. Next, we're going to do another bath, but this time I'm going to use some regular dish soap. Besides smelling really good, the orange flavored dish soap adds a great citrus note to the knife tea. I used my brother's toothbrush again, scrubbing deep inside the knife. After about 10 minutes of diligent scrubbing, I managed to remove every last bit of dirt. Now that it's all dry and clean, we can move on to restoring the tools and making the knife function properly. Using some digital calipers, I found out that the awl implement is exactly 650 thousandths of an inch thick. The gap, however, was measuring 585 thousandths of an inch, which means I needed to remove 65 thousandths of an inch to make the tool fit properly. Using the diamond file from my Leatherman arc, I patiently removed little bits of material from each side to get the tools to fit. Then I used the awl to scrape it and get a better surface finish. Next, I made sure to measure each tool, matching them perfectly with the size of the gap. Now that I had finished fixing the pivot points, I could move on to restoring each individual tool. The first step in restoring this blade is reprofiling it on this sander. Holding it perpendicular to the belt, I remove the damaged metal until it's perfectly flat and the point has been re-established. Next, using my Wicked Edge sharpening system and various diamond abrasive stones, I start at 300 grit and remove material to form an apex along the edge. I use water to lubricate the stones and prevent dust from going airborne. After finishing with 1000 grit, I remove the burr along the edge using my leather strop, which is impregnated with 3-micron polishing compound. After about 20 minutes of stropping, the burr has been removed, resulting in an extremely fine edge, sharp enough to shave with. I could replace my razor with this thing, but I'll probably stick to the electric one for now. After finishing the blade, I reprofiled the awl, can opener, and flathead screwdriver tools. When I had finished with the sander, I cleaned the knife one last time, working soap deep inside the pivot points and removing all of the metal filings from the knife. With the restoration complete, the last step is to add a lubricant. In this case, it's also a laxative, which is very important as you're going to be using this knife to cut food. You don't want any toxic materials in your food, so this is a odorless, tasteless mineral oil. Very, very safe. I was curious to see how this knife would compare to a brand new version of it. This is a Pioneer Alox from 1996, which makes it 5 years older than the knife we restored, but it's interesting to compare them considering they are exactly the same, and 25 years really does show up on this beautiful knife that we restored. The awl has about 60% remaining. I managed to sharpen it and make it a usable tool again. The can opener has lost most of its flathead screwdriver tip, but I did make it sharp enough to shave, which is a plus, so there's that. Finally, I reprofiled the edge of the screwdriver, which makes it slightly shorter, but honestly these guys are very similar. And I need to ship this out to the owner of the knife, so I'm making sure to package it very safely. I'm rolling it in some paper. This is an old Trader Joe's bag, and of course the trusty Leatherman arc is coming in handy again. This knife is a very sentimental piece that belongs to a good friend of mine, and I want to make sure it gets to him safely and securely. I made a little box out of a scrap piece of cardboard, and I'm using some bubble wrap, plenty of tape. Definitely double wrap this with tape, as it has a long journey ahead of it, now on the way to the UPS store.
We don't preview